เอาละค่ะแล้วตอนนี้นะคะ May I invite Mr. Martin Venzky-Stalling นะคะสำหรับเซสชันนี้เลย Please welcome on the stage please.
So we might have more people to join. I'm Martin Venzky-Stalling, Sawadee Krab, and but you're very far. So I would like to have these 4 tables be the main tables. So get up, you don't have to sit over there, just come to the front. All of you please, also from GCNT. And if you want to join the workshop, if you are sitting in the second row, you're not joining the workshop, you're just observing or you're having a nap. Come to the front please. This is fine too, but I would like to have 4 people at each table. So fill the tables up and then we add more people that come late to the tables. Maybe in this case then we have 2 left here. Can you 3 come to the tables here? I will be more over here. Can you come over here? Try to make the tables full. All right. So because some people, so first of all, you can ask me in Thai, but it will be much easier if I can speak in English. Is that okay for you all? So if you have a question, and also if you want to discuss later in a group, maybe we can shuffle you around if it's more Thai speaking group, then you can speak in Thai and discuss some of the topics, but we do the workshop in English. Is that good? Okay, thank you. Which is actually one of the reasons that we have this workshop. Because we believe in technology and innovation here, but maybe it's not enough. So that's why we have this workshop on regenerative leadership and inner development goals. But as some people might be running a little bit late, I was so bold to, they didn't put Masterclass, it says Masterclass. Please help me out and consider this as a prototype. And particularly as the group is quite small, I'm going to try a few things. I sort of brought some of my toys with me here today of things that I use in my workshops. So I will use some of my toys, so let me just dress up and I will be back in a second. I'm Martin Venzky-Stalling, and I have a box on my head, right? I'm Martin Venzky-Stalling, and I have a box on my head. Do you know what kind of box we have on our heads? I have no slide for this one. I just thought it might be a good activity to get us started. It's our mindsets. It's our experiences. And it's not bad. Some of it is good, but some of it is also holding us back, right? So when we're thinking about leadership, when we are facing new challenges as individuals or as organizations, sometimes that mindset boxes us in. So I sometimes combine this. If we have more time, we would then do a workshop, think out of the box and unbox yourself, create a new box actually, create a new kind of mindset that's more open. And I think this is very relevant to regenerative leadership and to inner development goals, which we are going to explore today. Because regenerative leadership is a new model of thinking of leadership. A model that is not kind of top-down or extractive, but more how to regenerate, add more, identify and provide the culture for innovation, for exploration in an organization. It is also a mindset about us and nature, ecosystem, and others. So we are kind of set in our ways and in our mindsets, and now we're trying to break free. So to explore that a little bit and just to have a little bit of fun, you actually have a mini version of this box. So what I would like you to do is take one of these sheets. Yeah, take a sheet. Well, don't be shy, take a sheet if you don't have enough, and hold it up. Hold the paper and introduce yourself with this very close. Introduce yourself, who you are, why you are here, what you're doing. Hold this in front of you. Yeah, and turn around to your neighbor, so you turn around to him, you hold this close, like this. Hello, I'm Martin, but turn to her. Turn to her. And hold this in front of you. Yes, like this. Introduce yourself. Take a minute of Okay. Just check yours. Yeah, that's good. You get a different one. Just finished? Very good. I need to borrow this one, sir. Thank you. You get another one. Leave it there. Hello. Take another one in the back. All right. Anybody still doesn't have a paper? What are you doing? Okay. Yeah, give him a new one. All right. I want you to put down, chatty guy here. I know him. So put down this four in the middle of the table. In the middle of the table. I don't want to use these for a little bit. Just turn them around. Yeah. Face upwards. Okay. And then I give you a new one for the group. A new one for the group. Can you turn it around, please? Face up. Face up. Face up. Yeah, like this. Thank you. Okay. One for the group. One for the group. All right. I want you to connect the dots on your sheet. Pui, where are all my sheets? I want you to connect these dots with 4 lines without lifting the pen. Do it as a team. One holds the pen and the others connect the 4 dots, 4 lines, without lifting. Four lines. Can you turn it around? Use one as a group. Okay?
Just one.
Yeah, you as a group. Who is the pen holder? Who is the pen holder? You are. Okay, good. I heard the word there. You're on the right track.
Okay. I think my idea is something like this. Kind of this.
But I heard you say outside the box, but you're inside the box.
Inside the box is some kind like we still would.
Because that's what I heard. That you said we have to go outside the box.
Yeah.
Just staying inside the box. Has anybody solved it? Yes. Almost. It's 4? And it's just so hard to see. But there's curves in there, right? Straight lines, please. Straight lines. Here's another clean one. So you're all thinking inside the box, right? How about, where's the box? It's the 9 dots, right? But who tells you that you have to stay inside the box? How about if you try to go outside the box in your thinking? Can you solve it then?
Yeah, the rule said I'm not allowed.
Where does the rule say?
The rule says straight lines.
Yeah, straight lines, but it doesn't say you have to stay inside the
I
box.
said a spiral. I said no.
How about this one? You get it? How about this one? Yeah. Starting here, going out of the box, coming back in.
Ah, I see.
Yeah. Very good. How was that? I think our groups got it, right? You got it? Hey, okay, great. All right, one group is still working on it. Can I ask the group how it felt? How did you feel doing this activity? Was it frustrating? Okay. How did it feel?
Yeah, I think it was very frustrating because you told us to think outside of the box, but then you told us how to think outside of the box. So you're not allowed to do curvy lines, only straight lines. And so, but it was frustrating, yes.
You felt boxed in. You didn't have a solution.
I had a solution.
Curved lines.
Yes.
Okay. Curved lines. Our physics in this game don't work like that. It's straight lines, and you can do it with straight lines, right? But you have to go outside the box. And that's really what we also have to do a little bit with the inner development goals. We have to get out of our comfort zones, our thinking models. Regenerative models are also new leadership models. So this was just a fun little exercise that then leads into a 3-hour workshops on using this particular tool for letting go of behaviors that keep you in the box and developing new ways to open up to new behaviors. For today, you can use it as a notepad if you like, because it has a very useful, on the back side, on the top left, it has the goals for today. If you down, why am I here? My goals for this session. You know, you could actually reflect on that for a little bit while I'm getting ready with the next slide. So if you wanted to write down what's my learning goal for today, then you can use that box. And at the end, you can also use it to write down what you might stop doing and what you might do more of. Because to some extent, that's what the IDGs are about. Where's my clicker? Here, okay. Great. So you can use that taking, okay? You can, or you bring your own notebook, that's fine too. So we're going to talk about the IDGs, inner development goals, and leadership. I have a line group. If you are interested in staying in touch and getting more information, then you can scan the QR code and join the line group. Some of you are already in the line group. It's the same group. I'm just growing it and adding things. So he's been a very loyal participant for 3 years in a row. So I'll come back. Okay, today's a new topic. So can you all stand up? It's afternoon, so we need to keep moving. Can you all stand up? And then you might know this one, right? So I think you know this one. But I want you to raise your hand. Raise your hand. Okay. Kunzak, come on. Yeah, you're tired? And so if you know a lot about the SDGs, like a 9 or 10 out of 10, keep your hand up. If you're more like in the middle and you know some but not everything, you could put your hand here. And if you feel like, no, I'm here to learn more, and I'm going to be the super learner, you could put your hand down here. So we have a few hands that are up. It's okay, I'm not going to pick on you. Thank you very much. It's a mix of understanding who we have here and also a little bit of afternoon stretching. So you can sit down again. And I want to, so how we structure this after the initial ice-breaking, getting to know each other, a bit activity and getting frustrated with Martin's unclear instructions about the box that you can't use curved lines. So then let's go a little bit into 20 minutes, hopefully, of lecture, just setting some background. And then I have 2 or 3 activities that will each take about 20 minutes time for you, okay? So we will finish in around 2 hours, and there's water here that you can have in the recyclable aluminum cans, I understand. So just a quick recap, the SDGs were developed and adopted by 193 nations, 2015, and we are now in the decade of action, right? So countries are implementing them. I probably moved on a bit from when I last changed that slide. So one thing we often see the SDGs like this, like nicely next to each other in squares. But actually, they're more like that. They're all connected. And also very important, just as a little side note, is to look at the targets. My wife is a lecturer at Chiang Mai University, and she was asked to justify her curriculum, and she said, which SDG is relevant to me? I said, one is, there's probably many if you understand what's underneath. How do you understand that? You need to look at the targets, right? So targets under the goals are very important to understand them really. But we're not going to go into that today. But we do an activity workshop, actually those that came here the last few years, we normally or always have done the SDG game, which is showing you that once collectively people change their behavior and mindsets, their individual decisions can actually change the world. Everything is connected, and you can be the starting point of change, right? And this is actually also the thread that's going through the rest of the presentation, that we can be the changes to systems. So, and another important aspect about the SDGs is that when you look at the document, it's actually called Transformation to a New World. Yeah, it's not called the SDG document, blah, blah, blah. The main title is Transforming Our World. The idea being that if we achieve the SDGs, we actually have a new economic, social, environmental system in place that works for the world and us. So it's transforming into a new system rather than making individual changes. This is the SDG game where we participate and learn about how things are connected. And one of the key findings for people is that they are not looking at the world. You are not looking at the world. Bad news. We're actually on this world. Yeah, we're living on this, and this is our one and only world. So we are not observers. We are subjects. We are part of it, right? We are not just looking at the world. We are on it. And I like to compare. This is do you know who took this photo? Who knows who took this photo? Anybody got an idea who took this photo? Was there a yes? Maybe? Something like that. So one of the first astronauts that saw the whole planet from space. This picture became groundbreaking for our understanding of our blue planet. And seeing how beautiful it is, but also we only got one of these, right? So only got one of these. So bringing these concepts together, there was a guy called Buckminster Fuller. Does anybody know Buckminster Fuller? He was a polymath in the 60s and 70s. He was a genius in many ways, and he created a book called The Operating Manual for Spaceship Earth. How can we live? So he thought ahead of times when sustainability and those kind of challenges that we face now weren't so prevalent yet. I mean, they were visible, but so he wrote this book, Operating Manual for Spaceship Earth. And I like to use this kind of like combine it with the idea of us all being crew, not passengers. Yeah? We are all crew on this ship, on Spaceship Earth. And it has to have all hands on deck. Have you heard this word? All hands on deck. Not one person leaning back and shedding responsibility. We all need to take the responsibility to create a better future. However, achieving the SDGs is not going not so well, right? We are, I think it's something around 16 to 17% where conceptually global SDG goals have been achieved. I have to say that 1% difference at a global level can make a huge difference for locals, for a local level or in a particular area. If you cascade down from the whole world, and then from 17 to 18% sounds like not much, but actually could mean a lot in different areas. So I just want to keep the narrative a little bit straight when people talk about the SDGs and we are not achieving them, or what's the point? There's a lot of, one is agreeing all of us on this operating manual, right? In principle, 193 countries have agreed this is a book. This is a book that we want to use, but we're not achieving it. And the other 84, 16 to 17, 84% are limited progress. Even some are going back. At the same time, many scientists say that the new system of the SDGs is an opportunity. That new economy that we would create is an economy of creating jobs and growth and opportunity. At the same time, scientists that are balanced, Project Drawdown, others, MIT, will say, we have all the tools that we need to achieve the SDGs. We have the tech. We don't need to wait for carbon capture or direct air capture or any kind of fancy things that out there and might have an impact. I can show it to you in another simulation. Who thinks that MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, who thinks that's a relatively trustworthy organization? Hands up if you think they're quite trustworthy as an organization. Quite a few of them, of you. They developed a climate simulator that showed En-ROADS, that showed that there is no one solution. We need to do everything, but the new solutions that people talk about will take a long time. So the quicker we implement what we have, the better. Avoiding carbon emissions now is a lot more useful than avoiding them in the future. So we have it. What is holding us back? And also, just one other point. What sustainable development also includes are two important concepts. One is, we don't reduce the possibilities for future generations. Yeah? Actually, in Europe, some courts have decided that what national governments are doing is not enough. So they say, go back and do more. Not consistent enough, but it has happened that they said, you're putting too much onto the next generation and not doing enough now. So this one principle is not to reduce the ability of future generations to have their own needs. I came here Friday, Saturday, I've been here every day. And on the first 3 days, we had this down here, but then there was a competition upstairs by 300, 500 students from all around the world. NCORDS or something it's called. It's a big global competition, they're pitching. And I thought, well, what's happening here, it's the innovation, it's discussions, and there's side events and seminars. They are also important. But I felt the real energy and the real future was on the top floor. Yeah? People in their 18, 20s, 25s. That was really, I really was happy to be able to join them for the evening celebration after their pitches. I felt that was really energizing. So future generation, their meets, and leave nobody behind. We're doing badly on that. We're leaving so many people behind, inequality. Okay. So, we are failing to reach the SDGs. But scientists tell us that we have the tech. We have innovations. More innovation is useful, and we keep innovating, but actually, if we apply it right, if we share, it's all there. Progress is not happening fast enough. So they said, maybe system thinking, how do you change a system? It's going back to us inside, our own beliefs, our own skills, our own behaviors. So they developed the inner development goals, which are cognitive, emotional. That sounds a little bit difficult, but they're like skills. Are you able to empathize? Are you doing critical thinking? Are you grounded in your beliefs? Are you able, in the face of difficulties, and I take you through them systematically, but in the face of difficulties, can you keep yourself motivated? And can you motivate others to embrace change and take action? These are the type of skills that they say we can actually practice them. You know, we are good at some through our current experiences, you know, like the box. The box has good things. We have skills, we have experiences. But the other things we can still learn. Yeah, so that's the belief in the IDGs that we can learn them. So these are the broad categories of the IDGs. It's about being, who are you, how you believe, what's your moral inner compass. You don't have to take pictures, actually, but take a picture of me because I'm here, yeah, so yeah, take pictures. Second one is thinking, system thinking, creative thinking, critical thinking. Critical thinking is super important, like system thinking. Peter Senge said something like, current solutions are the problems of the future because we are making them too quick. We are not thinking about unintended consequences that could be bad on something else, right? So we are making decisions that create problems in the future. Appreciating complexity, critical thinking is a very important thinking skill. Now, somebody at the Bangkok Climate Action Week, I think, said, relating, one of the biggest casualties of what's been happening around the world in the last 3-5 years, has been, the victim has been empathy. Empathy has been under attack as being a good thing. Here we're saying being able to relate to others, empathize, and show compassion so that you understand them and you can then connect is a super important skill if we want to create a better world. Collaborating. The SDG simulation that I mentioned to you before is divided into 2 parts. And in the first part, everybody thinks they have to compete. And it goes down a very bad path in 90% of the cases. Only when they realize we have to collaborate and share resources, then we can create a good world and even achieve our own goals. And then finally acting, that all hands on deck, right? We all need to do something. I'm purposely repeating some of these words because I have a lot of ground to cover, but hopefully together with the slides that I will share, you can remember this. So acting, I mentioned staying motivated in the face of difficulties because what we are doing is difficult for ourselves, but we also meet resistance. Mark is doing circular economy models and not everybody is going to say, hey, yeah, let's do that, right? That's easy. My company is ready to invest in a new way of not just reducing or changing products. We actually want to really transform our business processes to have creative business models. Well, that's going to take some convincing. So how do we do that? Idea of the people that developed this, and this is a Swedish organization with global reach now. They say, if we apply the IDGs, we can be better leaders, we can be more purposeful ESG integration, our employees will be happier, and maybe also how our brand and our kind of culture will be stronger, because the kind of values and skills that we are applying through the IDGs. So this is also a framework for consulting and working with organizations, NGOs, and education sector. Thailand has a number of facilitators that work with the IDGs. I think SAW, right, has embraced the IDGs in Thailand. And some of the big companies are doing a little bit with it, but there's still a lot of space. For me personally, I'm always a bit skeptical if we don't include this. I believe, you can work in a specific function or business process with the IDGs and make them better, but I believe we need to include the top management and ideally the leaders, the board, in driving these kind of new values to really make a difference. There's a risk that we use these things and then we still get stuck in the old system. So leadership development, and leadership development at different levels, but also the top is very important. So we're going into a little bit more detail, and for that, I don't know if I have enough. For Pui, can you help me? How many tables do we have? Maybe 3 per table. Yeah, a bit of sharing involved. maybe put the cards down first and let me run through this, and then I give you 5 minutes to explore the cards. So multitasking typically doesn't work very well. So let me walk through this here quickly, and then you can, at your own pace for 5 minutes, look at them at your... I also wanted to show, this is a QR code that takes you to the IDG website. And this one, I didn't have time to do the QR code, but it's so short, it's called idg.tools. That's actually one of my favorite places because it shows you the how. It has a whole kind of list of games, tools, exercises that you can use to develop these skills. So some of them might be quite easy, right? So how do I get better at systems thinking? There's actually a workshop somewhere this week at the Bangkok Climate Action Week on systems thinking. So there are places, but inner compass, what are your values? What is your morality? Integrity and authenticity, openness and learning mindset, self-aware, and presence. Presence is quite important if we are not showing up. Sometimes I like to use simulations, and it's always not criticizing, but it's a good reflection for people to ask themselves, how did I show up? Now that the question comes, how did I show up in this workshop? Did I show up at this table? How did I share with others? Was I present, right? So these are the being traits or skills. Thinking includes things like critical thinking, long-term orientation, being aware of complexity. Relating is humility, empathy, compassion, appreciating nature. Collaboration is about communication, co-creation, and being able to mobilize other people. And finally, having courage, being creative in the face of tricky situations. We have a number of activities where if you don't change your way of trying to solve it, like this one, right? You keep doing it within the box, then it doesn't work. You need some creativity, some outside thinking to solve this puzzle, right? And optimism and perseverance, staying on it. So I used this the first time with a group of 30, 40 Malaysian sustainability leaders in tourism. And I said to them, it's hard, isn't it? And they said, yeah, some things we've been teaching and doing for 30 years. Some of them were older, some of them were younger. Staying on and finding that energy to keep on changing the world, improving it is quite important. But do they work individually? What do you think? Remember that spider web of the SDGs? I think the IDGs are similar, right? They're all connected. I mean, if there's one that doesn't resonate with you at all, maybe you need to look at that. But also, and where we're getting at later, which is the most important one for you, for yourself as a person, or for your particular challenge, right, that you are facing at work or in your context. So it depends. So for them, they were all pretty expert. Many of them were experts. So they associated being a sustainability champion with thinking and knowledge, being very knowledgeable and having seen a lot. And I said to them, well, if you are really trying to be a champion and trying to convince other people that are not just kind of your students, or you come to a lecture or to a conference, but others that might then go away and don't follow your ideas. I said to them, I want you to practice these and then more this direction, because I think that will be the more important ones for you, that sort of drive more based on their thinking skills, their knowledge, right? So we need to practice more the relating, the empathy skills. So now I give you like a few minutes to have a look at those cards together, and then we continue. Maybe we can all go sort of So they're divided into 5 groups. You see symbols on the cards. So this is not a real activity yet. This is just a quick review to see what they are and not just looking at a slide. When you're done, check with your neighbors that broadly, everybody understands that broadly. Okay. Shall we move on? Yeah. Let me just go back on one thing. Because we are in Asia. I didn't put that in, but okay. Hi, folks. So hello. Okay, in Asia we have Buddhism and other local practices for meditation and mindfulness. There's a crucial difference between that and the IDGs. The IDGs are not just about yourself. The IDGs are actually inner development for outer change. So the IDGs were developed to transform, achieve the SDGs, right? So that's really important. And we sort of sometimes, when I did the IDG training, our teachers said, we're kind of stuck in the middle. That are in the corporate side, they kind of feel like the IDGs are a little bit esoteric, you know, like a lot of sort of soft skill stuff. And people that are more in the kind of mindfulness, Buddhism practice kind of feel like this is not going far enough. But this is the idea. The idea is to meet particular corporate sector where they are and to sort of be something that can relate to organizations, because we believe that organizations, business sector, need to be part of this transformation, like government, business, and so. So it's trying to create a bridge with the purpose of being something that companies can understand and relate to, and then to transform the outer. Okay, let's move on before we get into the group activities. Almost there. So from the SDGs, so we had the SDGs, and they said, okay, we're not achieving them, so we do need the IDGs for inner development, for outer change. This is the kind of logo that they came up with. Now, how does regenerative fit into this? Well, there's a bit of a debate going on whether everything in the SDGs is right. The model, the thinking. And actually use one of the SDGs as an example, but today we're going to use it as a positive example, but there's something hidden in it, which is the idea of employment and growth, particularly the second word, growth GDP, and kind of connected to the concept of green growth. But when we look at the data and the statistics, green growth is not really happening. Sorry about that. What green growth involves decoupling of GDP growth to the use of natural resources, and not just in relative terms, so that the curves don't bend the same way. That's happening a little bit. But in absolute terms, you increase GDP and you can actually reduce use of resources, of carbon emissions. Not happening when you look at all data together. So there's some problem with some of the model, the beliefs. And this is also one other thing that they're saying about the, so that's one criticism of the SDGs, it's the growth thinking, right? And I'm not coming here with a degrowth model, but I'm just saying that this is an issue that we need to look at. I believe humanity needs to be inspired and likes to be creative and innovative. And so we need to find a model that can be that, right? With the IDGs, they say just being, I mean, it comes down to what is in your moral inner compass, right? So what if your moral compass, your values, your goals are consistent with a more sustainable balance world that works for everybody, for example, then maybe it's okay. But it's not automatic, right? I mean, we are being better people, but as a direction that we are heading, the right one. Give you maybe a stereotype example, but there are probably many senior executives that join IDG courses. But are they, when they go back to their boardrooms and so, are they going to completely change and drive it down in their organization? Or are they just curious about the latest trend in management thinking or so, right? So I don't want to be too cynical. I'm everybody, a step forward is great, but there is something around people saying, is it enough, right? Where is good? How is morality defined? So I think, to me, to some extent, this is where regenerative leadership, adding something back, comes in, because you automatically change your way of thinking to add more than taking, right? So, and they're actually saying also maybe the next, we had the Millennium Development Goals, then we had the Sustainable Development Goals, and maybe some say the next, in 2030, what they're adopting then, may have more elements of regenerative thinking. Many people say, what is regenerative leadership? What is regenerative business models? At best, I understand regenerative agriculture, because it's kind of like obvious, right? So regenerative, well, it's not obvious that we're doing it, but it's obvious how to do it, right? So regenerative agriculture in terms of what we use and how we use it and how we relate to nature but actually they found that we can over time more and more integrate it into real business models, and the leadership thinking can also adopt it, right? The leadership thinking can also adopt it. So maybe for me this combination of inner development goals, some of the SDGs, and then regenerative is a way forward. And so what is it? Mindset shift from silos, from competition to collaboration, for listening to oneself to listening to us. I highlighted one which I thought was quite interesting maybe for debate. Last night I went to one of these dinners that happening to the Bangkok Climate Action Week, and we discussed about the concept of entering a period of abundance. And I thought, what? It's like when we are actually overusing our resources. We're running out of the planet in month 7 or 8. But what they mean with that is a different way of looking at what's the currency. Is the currency money, wealth, and what kind of wealth, right? So abundance in terms of other things. Human connectedness, connected to nature, having something that you can breathe and enjoy. So other things than currently our values reflect. But maybe there's an element of enough is also enough. But abundance doesn't mean overuse of resources. It just means that what we value as being important, and if we see that, it's actually a lot around us, right? I mean, if we are going into a forest and we care to look close, right now, we're still fortunate to see a lot of things. So what are examples of regenerative business models? Something like circular economy, or working more with nature together, like in agriculture. But this can also be expanded in other areas where, even in solar farms, they're saying now, first-gen solar farms were engineering optimized, but biodiversity negative. But you can actually revise them if you understand the ecosystem around and under the solar panels, and you can actually significantly reduce the impact of solar panels on farmland and actually do a pretty good job, or reduce the impact a lot and get a much better balanced output. So strengthening our understanding and working with nature, working with communities, inclusive business models. I think you're from GIZ, right? So, no? Okay, I saw it. So I worked on my first, one of my projects with GIZ was inclusive business model. Very, very similar, is so that your value chain, your supply chain is not just internal, but also for your employees, for your customers, and for the communities, and creating value for them as well. Value creation and extraction. And then I highlighted this. I think innovation is great, but maybe we need to focus more on innovation with purpose. to transform models. If a company says, which one is transformative? A company says, I have this great new product which reduces the use of plastic in it. Or the company says, we have redesigned our process to be circular and lose less from the beginning and also take back the rest. Which one is transformative? It's the second, right? Just coming out with a new product, changing a little feature of the product isn't really transformative. What we are talking about is changing the company's system and processes to have circular models and net zero and more. So we can employ innovation that way to achieve business transformation to regenerative models. So innovation can still be important, but it should have that objective. So now I have some activities because I see the energy is dropping a little bit. So I have a choice for you to choose. Each table can choose a different one. We do 2 rounds, so we do one on education. The other one is on life on land, biodiversity, life on land, those kind of things. And decent work and economic growth. So at your table, I will give you, or Bui5 will give you the sheets. I think they're enough because you printed 5 copies, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, so plenty. So share them. If you want to do, so we have education. Discuss amongst yourselves which one you want to do first. You get 2 to do. Discuss which one you want to do first. If you want to do education, you need a flip chart. Impact of a company on this ecosystem and biodiversity. And they're all connected to also regenerative leadership and IDGs. All these points come up. And the third one is about how do we improve the work quality and economic growth in our business. So once you have decided which one you want to do first, raise your hand. And if it's not education, you can start straight away discussing these points at your tables. If you still want to have a flip chart just to discuss these anyway, you can have a flip chart as well. Education first? Nobody's doing education first? Who wants a flip chart to be able to capture the points? At each table, we want you to share a little bit afterwards. Do you want a flip chart? Or you can put the flip chart on the table. So I give you about 15 minutes for this activity. And then please capture some of your points. Can we put the flip charts on that side? So, okay. Because it's quite noisy in here, I just changed it a little bit, and we're going to do, so sometimes we do a gallery walk and everybody listens to each table, but I think it's quite noisy. So what we do instead is we're going to do a World Cafe style thing. So each table chooses a person who stays at the table to welcome the people that come to their table. So everybody else needs to go to another table. And then you explain what you've been doing, maybe also some open questions, see whether they can help you, and also add. So we want to go into a little bit more depth by doing it 2 rounds, okay? So who is the person staying at the table? Okay, so you need to be able to explain what you've done using the flip chart, I guess, right? Make sure that your colleagues don't leave you with half-completed notes, and so you want to know what they wrote and meant. Okay, you got your chair? You got your chair? You got your chairs, and the other 3 people find a new table, please. Look, get up. Find a new table. Okay, there's one seat left here, 2 here, 3 here. So don't be. Maybe see how long it takes. Yeah, but you should move around. Yeah, don't stay. Yeah, wherever you like. Okay, so first you explain what the topic is you've chosen at the table, and what you've done, and what you may need help with, or they can also probe why. Right? Okay. Before you move on, just capture the key discussion points that you had. That would be really nice. Or if you can memorize them all. And the person that stays at the table can also change. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. So if the other person can stay, then you can rotate a little bit to explore. So we can now change the person that stays at the table. Big relief here. Okay. So find your new table and share and add a bit more. We want to go a little bit more into depth. Which other IDGs? Why? And I have one more question I will ask you before we finish with this activity. คนไทยก็อาจจะแชร์เป็นภาษาไทยแล้วก็เราช่วยกันแปลนะ So the question was, what does regenerative leadership mean to you? So we have one more activity about IDGs. And I heard a lot of talking about, in some areas, about profit versus other values and so. So maybe I can invite you to share a little bit about what was happening at your table, because there was a long discussion. So would you like to share first what your definition of regenerative leadership is? ความหมายหรือว่า definition ของ regenerative leadership สำหรับคุณชื่ออะไรครับ คุณแชมป์นะครับ คุณแชมป์ช่วยแชร์ได้ไหมครับ
Can speak out others in Thai language
ครับ
ครับผมก็ regenerative leadership ของผมเอาจริงคือเราต้องเข้าใจว่าการฟื้นฟูสำหรับผมเนี่ยมันคือว่าเมื่อเราใช้แล้วเนี่ยมันต้องชดเชยใช่ไหมนะครับนั่นคือสิ่งที่มันเป็นเรื่องปกติแต่ว่าสำหรับความเป็นผู้นำเนี่ยสำหรับผมregenerative leadership เนี่ยมันเหมือนกับเราต้องรักษาสมดุลทุกๆอย่างครับตั้งแต่ตัวเราเองจนถึงสิ่งรอบตัวเนี่ยให้เหมือนกับว่าไม่ตึงไม่หย่อนจนเกินไปครับผมให้รู้สึกว่ามันสมูทไปได้โดยที่ไม่ไปสุดทางใดทางหนึ่งครับผม
คุณสามารถ link I will summarize but just one more question and I do together คุณสามารถ link IDG กับ regenerative leadership ได้ไหมครับ
เอาสารภาพเลยว่าณตอนนี้เราอาจจะไม่เข้าใจมากเท่าไหร่นะครับผมเพราะว่า IDG สำหรับผมคือยังต้องเรียนรู้อะไรเยอะเลยแต่คิดว่ามันสามารถเชื่อมโยงได้ไหมได้ครับ
ยกตัวอย่าง
สำหรับผมเนี่ยการที่จะฟื้นฟูได้เนี่ยสิ่งสำคัญคือมันต้องเข้าใจสภาพแวดล้อมและผู้คนมาครับนั่นคือสิ่งที่เราจะมีวิธีที่จะไปเข้าใจตรงนี้ได้คือมันต้องมีความเห็นอกเห็นใจ empathy and compassion นะครับกับหลายๆสิ่งทั้งตัวเราบุคคลรอบตัวและสภาพแวดล้อมเนี่ยครับอันนี้จะเป็นสำหรับผมรู้สึกว่ามันจะเป็นจุดตั้งต้นทำให้เรียกว่าเราเข้าใจว่าเราจะทำยังไงต่อไปในการฟื้นฟูแล้วก็เดินทิศทางในแบบที่เรารู้สึกว่ามันคือสิ่งที่เราต้องทำเพื่อแก้ไขสิ่งที่ไม่ถูกต้องให้ถูกต้องครับผม
So what I heard in this definition, and correct me if I'm wrong, and other Thai people can chip in, but in Thai, actually I was asked exactly this question this morning, believe it or not, but I was asking what is the better word for healing together, heal together, and he meant it as a neutral English term that could be used in many contexts, heal. So the immediate translation was raksa, right, which is a medical way of healing. But I think he meant more funfu doikan, right? So we were discussing a bit about what regenerative means. It is meaning more than
sustaining. It means making it better, giving back more. How do you give back more to nature? Relating. You can relate to nature as well. I think one of the big things that I hear this week is we unlearned how to relate to nature. Humans don't spend enough time with nature. 60% or so was a report saying humanity's exposure to nature dropped by that much. So relating to nature without that, appreciating how can you be a regenerative leader, right? But also relating to other people because you're a leader in your own organization. So there's the inner part and there's the outer part. I'm taking it a bit further than what you said, but trying to connect to it. So this is where I think the IDGs as a leader is first finding your inner relationship to nature. But then also you want to create the opportunity in your organization that people say, appreciate ideas, appreciate diversity, right? So if you appreciate that, is that an IDG skill? Appreciation? I think so, right? I just looked it up here, but it says creativity and appreciation, so it must be one of the IDGs. So that can be helpful to create an organization where everybody knows that coming with ideas that give back more to community or to nature is welcome. We do it or not, we can or not, next step. But first step is creating that culture. I think to me that is one form of leadership, is of an enabling environment. Let's hear some other opinions, me talking too much. So, yes, please.
I think I would just like to add on what you just said, because we had the discussion in the group about education and learning, that all these inner development goals that are expected to be so that the new leaders of today maybe have it, but I think we should also integrate them into our school system, because I think it's very difficult to change today's leaders' minds so drastically. So I feel we were also having the discussion about core skills. At the moment in the school, maybe core skills is more like math, science, learn a new language, but maybe also core skills are more about what are your inner personal core skills.
You said, and I'll be honest, I'm still very scared about the IDGs, not the ACGs, the IDGs. Knowing, learned about it with you. I don't believe that change incentive to spur that change. You need both the inner and the outer. So if you think regenerative, or think about not just the change, what spur the change.
It knows that you don't like it. Maybe you show some empathy to the microphone. I love you.
From the outside and the inside. So regenerative leadership. Just of we need regenerative. We leadership and IDGs through education, but also through external incentives. So regenerative leaders not just say you need to do this thing. And I think is a need to think about.
So, see? I have compassion for you. So, I think maybe you have to hold it more like this, and I don't know. But anyway, I think that what I hear a little bit is that you are more convinced of the regenerative leadership concept than the IDGs, maybe? Or is that fair to say that you feel that? Okay, so I kind of felt that the people that come to this workshop probably don't need chapter 1, which is, to me, is one of the whys. You know, I think
Some people still need that, and we need to be able to have a conversation with them about the why. But I could bore you with slides about environmental impact, inequality, and other things. You know, I do that a lot too. So I do both science and research policy projects, and I do education and capacity development. I kind of felt that this group was probably already convinced of the why and the need. And maybe this is where this discussion about that I had last night about abundance. And actually what it means is that we redefine abundance from profit and currency to abundance of good, positive relationships. It's time with family, time with the community, resilient communities, time in nature, and the competition suddenly becomes arguably something like, for example, I have the most biodiverse garden. Yeah, so instead of the woman that started the concept of greening your backyard, she's an English woman, she called the English gardens the biodiversity deserts. The biodiversity deserts. So how about you change your garden into the biodiversity heaven, right? So, and that is a new goal, and that's where we live by. So I think it's a value change as well. But for me, that is the reason that is very important, because I think, and also intergenerational thinking, which we are not good at, but there are more and more techniques about imagining a person that lives now and probably their grandchild you would probably still meet for a little bit. That takes it from your lifespan to about at least 100 years. And how much can the world change in 100 years to make it more relatable on why others, next generation matter. But let's hear some other opinions. I'm keen to the ones that haven't spoken yet to hear more about your definition. Remember, be nice to it and maybe hold it this way.
I mean, like, for me, regenerative leader is kind of like change the view of how you see things. Like, so it's kind of like be more holistic, and also I'm not sure about your abundance actually, but yeah, so it's like change the view of how you see things, and also like how we just discussed in the group that like regenerative leaders can produce more regenerative leaders and make the system better. So for me, it's just like that. Yeah.
Who else would like to share? Let's have somebody from, at least one or two people from each group. Okay.
For the regenerative leadership, the key word for me is value. For me, regenerative leadership is the person who know the value of themselves and can help others to know the value of themselves. I believe that once we know the value of ourselves, we can create, maintain, preserve the value of the ecosystem. And in my perspective, if we connect the regenerative leadership with the IDG, the first component is like super interesting for me, like being relationship to self, because for thinking, relating, collaborating, and acting, for me, these are quite like I think all the companies might very familiar with this concept, except the first component, which is being. So I think if we want to change the way we lead the company or the way we lead the people, we need to do something in difference. And relationship to self is the things that can create the difference, like, to my opinion.
Thank you. Any last one to share?
So I am a poet, and I'll just give you an example of how I view regenerative leadership and how I practice it. even before getting to know about this term. So I go to conferences, climate conferences, I learn about them, and I have a very modest upbringing. So for me to go to these conferences and dream about, traveling the world and getting to learn about all of these things is a real gift. So every time now I'm in Thailand, I'll go back to India, I'll go back to a public school, and I will talk to kids who are 5-year-olds, and I will talk to them about these concepts that we learned. So I remember I was at COP in Baku, and I tried to tell them, about fossil fuels by telling them that there's a bad guy, there's a good guy. So it's about, for me, regenerative leadership is about, sharing these stories, which I learn in all of these big terms, adaptation, mitigation, and all of these big terms, and distilling it for those young kids in those little stories. So I think, and to inspire them to think beyond, as you say, about the numbers and the alphabets, and beyond that, about the world. So I think that's how regenerative leadership looks for me, where I am passing on whatever I'm learning and passing on a dream to them that you can also fly. So basically these kids are not very privileged. They go to a free public school, which is government aided. And I think that for me, it's about acting more. If I have this, I have the being, thinking, relating, collaborating, I did all of that. But for me, acting is like one of the values that I relate to the most. Somebody, he shared about moral ambition, but I think we need moral action more than ever. And it comes when we as leaders go and talk to the communities that are marginalized in our localities, and we talk to them, we share these ideas, and we put those dreams in their minds, because ultimately it's the pictures and the dreams that they see and they act on that can really change the world. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Did that inspire any of you, one more person to share? Or shall we? So for me, leadership, right? What is leadership? To me, everybody is a leader. You all are leaders. So we're not just talking about executives or board members. Everybody is a leader in their family, their community, to themselves, leading to a new way of being, right? So, and what might be a little bit different in this context is that we believe that sustainability and maybe more, regenerative, giving back to community, finding ways of adding rather than subtracting is important. And that is not always easy. So you might have different skills that you already are strong in. So we can focus on these discussions. When we do workshops with more time, we focus maybe first on your strengths, which are your IDGs that you are strong in, and keep using them. So obviously being successful with them to come to this conference, to be curious about the work and other things. But we also want to be a bit weird having two of these. Thank you. We want to maybe practice some new ones. So the last exercise, because I also promised you to have a little bit of a takeaway action item for yourself. So normally, and Puifai, can you get the cards ready? There. So what I would like you to do is find a person that you're comfortable sharing a little bit about a challenge, how you handled that challenge, and in that context, which IDG might have been useful or you would like to be better at, right? So, for example, let me pick one that is one of these. I'm not bad at it. It's just a development area, right? So, presence. I have many things. I'm doing many projects. So sometimes I feel it's hard to be in the now and just focus on this. But I think it's actually so important. So I make that one of my IDG practices, that certainly in certain situations, like, and in a workshop like this, don't use the phone at all and say hello from the beginning and be with you all the time, nothing else, as much as possible, to capture everything that you can. So to practice that with people. So maybe So what we normally do is we have a simulation like the SDG game or a shorter version, and different behaviors show up through that. And then it's a little bit easier because you can say, 30 minutes ago, we all behaved in that way, and because I was a bit of stress and pressure and we wanted to do better, I didn't do my best, right? So what is the one skill out of the IDGs that you want to develop? So I will take you through the process cards. You need to find one partner to do this. And what changes is you're not thinking about the SDG game. You're thinking about one situation that you wished, you would have done differently. It could be a meeting. Yeah, a meeting. And that person in the meeting said something and it triggered you. Instead of being relaxed and sort of being able to expansively and then respond well, you got immediately upset and that was kind of like, so you wanted to change something, one of the IDGs maybe. So think about a situation and what IDG could help you to get better at your goals or being a regenerative leader. So pairs of two, discussion for 5-10 minutes, goes through the IDG cards and picks the one that you want to work on. And then maybe you can come to me, and also if you want me to follow up, I can do that as well. Or you ping me in the direct message, whatever. You just take a note for yourself. Okay, find a partner. You're all comfortable. Can you give the cards? Yeah, find a partner and pick up a set of cards. And we can go back to the table, so sit wherever you like. You can also sit a little bit away from the others to have a conversation in the corner. Hello. So you need the IDG cards because you need to pick one. So don't be too far from the table, or take one set with you. It's almost enough sets. You can do it with 3 people, but I think you should be in a tight team, maybe. Our Pasanke.
Just a quick explanation. Excuse me. When you get to card 4, I didn't bring the matrix. The matrix is a prioritization matrix. So the idea is you prioritize first from 23 to 5 or 6, and then you go down. And so this process of sharing the experience, and then ultimately you become sure and sure that this is the 1 or 2 that you want. When you make me matrix, that is a prioritization process. So you choose a number and then you whittle it down. Let's start with 1. Are you using the cards to walk through that process a little bit? Because that's what I would like. Yeah, so that's what I would like you to do. So the one variation is, so you should look at the cards together. So we didn't do the IDG game. So it's either an experience that you had, which was, you had some strengths, but maybe you also had some weaknesses, how you showed up in that experience, or you can relate it to being a sustainable, regenerative leader, right? And then you discuss, in that situation, how could you have been more positive impact in that situation? What behaviors did you notice in that situation? How could you be more positive, right? So it's discussing a little bit also about the others. And then the next one, which IDGs, so your strengths, your current strengths, did support some positive outcome in that situation,
but which one would have been good to be stronger in to have make it even more impact, right? And then the next one is we don't do the prioritization matrix. So normally what you do is kind of like impact and difficulty for yourself and then align the cards so you gradually, I mean 23, how do you know, right? So first you maybe have 8. So then ultimately through the prioritization you whittle it down. And then finally, how would you actually implement it? And maybe you can share with each other. It's a little bit like, from this person always triggers me, this situation, I'm going to practice in that situation to be more compassionate and understand the person, or I'm not going to give up easily when somebody doesn't understand the urgency for climate action or whatever, right? And I want to have a feedback. ไม่ผมทำเวอร์ชันออนไลน์ครับเพราะว่ามันใช้เวลาแล้วก็แพงแต่ว่าก็เป็นคอนเซปต์อันเดียวกันแล้วก็เขาก็ใช้เทคโนโลยีค่อนข้างดีในการสร้างคอมมูนิตี้สร้างลิงเกจอะไรอย่างเงี้ยนี่น่าจะทีมไทยนะครับก็ Which card are you at?
And in Germany, we would never say yes. It would actually be no because we
have to compete on this. Yes, one second. The final step is to is your action plan. So you choose 1 or 2 IDGs, and card 5 is the most important one. So, how do you choose the one you choose? How will you practice it? And how will you? In what situation, maybe with what person, so you can remember. Everybody go to card number 5 and pick your preferred, important, useful IDG. Could be 2, can be 3, but not more, I think. And think about how to practice it. In what situation, with which person, in which context. And maybe even share when you go back somewhere else. I want to practice. Can you remind me when I'm not doing it? Idea was everybody challenge and shares. This group got bigger, so but we're running out of time. We have to pack up soon. Whatever is useful for the group, right? Whatever is useful for the group. 5 นะครับอยากให้ดูนะครับแล้วก็เลือก IDG ที่จะไปพัฒนานะครับอาจจะเป็น1 หรือ 2 ตัวทีนี้วิธีการพัฒนา IDG มันคล้ายๆกับ Neuroscience นะครับคือถ้าเรามี Action Plan ในการฝึก Action Plan อาจจะรวมถึงว่ากับใครสมมุติว่าเราอยากจะเป็นแบบ Mindful Compassionate Empathyแต่คนนั้นน่ะคุณแจ็คเนี่ยทำให้ผมเวลาผมอยากจะนำเสนออะไรในประชุมแล้วคุณแจ็คก็พูดแบบว่าไม่เอาไม่เห็นด้วยผมจากความตั้งใจดีๆทั้งหมดผมจะโกรธพังใช่ไหมครับก็เลย relating being หรือว่าเป็นอาจจะเป็น perseverance กับ optimism ไม่ใช่ว่า give up ทันทีหาวิธีอื่นที่จะdeal กับ difficult people ใช่ไหมครับก็เราบางทีเราอาจจะ imagine สถานการณ์เรา imagine คนแล้วก็เราอาจจะมาแชร์กับเพื่อนที่เราคือมันก็เป็นเรื่องของที่ทำงานที่บ้านหรือว่าในชุมชนใช่ไหมเราบางทีเราก็อาจจะแชร์กับคนอื่นว่าต่อไปนี้ผมอยากจะแล้วก็ถ้าผมไม่เป็นคุณแท็บหรือคุณ หรือคุณบอกว่า something ที่เป็น reminder ว่าเราหลุดเราไม่เป็นแบบนี้มันก็จะเป็นการ reshape behavior ได้นั่นก็เป็น tangible action plan ในเชิง behavioral change I'm sorry to interrupt you. Please hold up your IDG card and I take a quick picture if you don't mind. To remind you ขอดูปุ้ยฝ้ายถ่ายรูปตรงนู้นได้ไหมผมเริ่มตรงนี้ IDG card what's your IDG card Tobias okay and you okay เลือกอันไหนครับ Okay, I wanted to. So this one I will send to you directly if you are in the group. Hello. As a team is also nice. Okay, I'll do team one. All right. Fantastic. Okay, I'll come back in an hour. You're still enjoying it, right? ยังสนุกอยู่เลยใช่ไหม Okay, these two. So fake. Okay. Now, can you help me briefly, quickly help to put the cards together in a nice order? So ideally, each set has 23 cards. The closer you can get to that outcome, the better. Can we sort out the cards into the separate sets? 23. A last challenge. Yeah, this one was your activity just now. Okay. Oops. If you want to contact me, this is my contact details. And we have the line group. So help me tidy up.